Hello, everyone. My name is Ana Martha Ayala, and I'd like to welcome you to my YouTube channel. As a reminder, I do every video in English and Spanish, and the degree theory is based on modern Western astrology using the Placidus house system. In today's video, I wanted to talk to you about the other side of Neptune, or one of the other sides of Neptune. Because I had made a video on the musical talent with Neptune, so I decided to investigate one of the other talents with Neptune, and that is photography. Since the end of the month, this month is maybe difficult with all the things, happening in the world, which are very tense energy, tariffs, no tariffs, threat of war, etc. I hope that we can try to concentrate on the lighter side of Neptune. Now, every natal chart is different, but I thought that I would take very talented and famous photographers and look at the aspects of Neptune to the different planets. Since Neptune is a generational planet, right? Because it's in a sign from 14 to 15 years. We're going to ignore the placement of Neptune, but the aspects that it makes, that's a different story. Now, Nicola has said that artistic talent is usually Neptune with aspects to Venus. So I took it a step further because, that's what I do, right? I try to investigate and see what connections I can make. Now, I only deal with Ptolemy aspects, which are the conjunction, the sextile, trine, the square, and the opposition. Because there are many other aspects, but these I ignore, like the inconjunct, sesqui square, the semi-sextile, etc. I don't look at all the aspects, just the Ptolemy squares. Now, the list that I put together is in no particular order, uh, men and women, right? I tried to choose from the different areas of photography because in photography, you have people that do landscape, that do architecture, that do portraits, that do fashion, even war, because you have photographers that go to war. And But unfortunately, most of this information on these people was not available on astro.com. So this video took a lot of time to put together because I had to, find the photographers, look up their birth dates, what they did as far as what part of photography they did, um, and then put in each birth date on astro.com so that at least I can get the aspects of Neptune, right? And then I put them into an Excel spreadsheet. So let's take a look at the information because there were some interesting things, it was a very inspiring Neptune, and no pun intended, right? But it's a very inspiring way to look at the photography. And then I hope that this can, you can take it to apply it to your chart and see if maybe you may have a talent for photography, either as a hobby, right? Or maybe as a side gig, I mean, who knows, right? So let me bring up the Excel spreadsheet, and it's going to be very colorful. Whoops. No, 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 no. Can I share? Here we go. Share. Now, like I said, these are in no particular order. But we have Ansel Adams, Dorothea Lange, and I'm sorry that if I murder any of these names, that's not the intent because they're from different countries. Henry Cartier-Bresson, Annie Leibovitz, Steve McCurry, Robert Capa, Diane Arbus, Youssef Karsh, Helmut Newton, Cindy Sherman, Edward Weston, Irving Penn Ray, and this gentleman is a special case. Walker Evans, Robert Frank, Matthew Jordan, Richard Avedon, Eve Arnold, David Bailey, David LaChapelle, Stephen Meisel, Andreas Gursky, Peter Hugo, and Ann Geddes. So there was only one photographer, this one, Matthew Jordan Smith. I couldn't, and I know that this gentleman is alive and he's a very, I think he's in his 50s. I couldn't find any information on him, but I saw a video on him. And then, actually, he's the one that inspired me to do this video because not only Neptune, but I thought, wow, what an interesting life that this man has lived, right? So I took, like I said, all of the information and I'll show you what I did. Oops, no. Let me unhide. See? Birth date, birthplace, and then I plugged this information into the astro.com and then I put in for the sun what the degrees and signs are for the sun, for Venus, for Neptune, for Mercury, for the moon, for Uranus and Jupiter. And Saturn is in here somewhere as well. I took all of basically all of the planets and use that. So let's undo this. Boom. And so what I found on top of plugging in all of this information, then you are going to see here the 6 photographers, and you can see them here. This is the ascendant. All right. 5 out of the 6 photographers or Sagittarius rising or are Sagittarius rising. By the way, a lot of these people have passed away already because these are like the pioneers in their field, right? Um, but 5 out of the 6 people that I could get the ascendant, they were Sag rising. I just thought I would emphasize that. Now, just like I did with the singers, I did this whole analysis, right? Like the sun, the earth signs were predominant as far as the sun's placement. With Venus, the predominant element was fire. Like I said, Neptune, we're going to ignore because it's a generational planet and, it depends on how old you are, right? So Mercury, the dominant element is air. For the moon, the dominant element is earth. For Uranus, the dominant element is water, and for Jupiter, the dominant element is also water. Now, I have a total of 23 people here. And what was interesting, like I said, is I went in and I looked at the aspects of Neptune. And now Nicholas said that Neptune aspecting Venus was artistic talent. So, and in fact, when you look at Venus here, 19 out of the 24 had aspects to Venus. Now they vary. It could either be, I put minor for like the, semi-sextile, the in conjunction, so like other aspects that are not Ptolemy aspects. But Venus is either a trine, a conjunction, sextile, square. It's all over the place, even oppositions. So if your Neptune aspects your Venus, this is a good potential. So the other planets that were very significant, you have the moon aspecting Venus, aspecting Neptune, and then you have the sun and Saturn aspecting Neptune. I was thinking that maybe Saturn, because it's a ruler of time, that when you take a picture, you capture that moment in time, right? And then the other ones, the Jupiter also is pretty up there, but the dominant planets in aspecting the Neptune is Venus, the Moon, the Sun, and Saturn. Mercury, you've heard that saying, picture is worth a thousand words. So Mercury, with pictures, you can communicate emotions, the moon, right? Because if you, especially here, there's like Ansel Adams was very good at black and white photography of the rural landscape. This lady, Dorothea Lange, um, she was a photographer during the Depression. So she got famous because she took a picture of a migrant mother with her children. Henry Cartier-Bresson, I believe he's French, and he was the master of candid photography. Anne Leibovitz did portraits in intimate settings of music legends like John Lennon and his wife. And let me see who else. No, that's it. Now, this gentleman, Steve McCurry, I don't know if you've seen in photography covers a young, she is a Middle Eastern young girl uh, from Afghanistan with these really bright green eyes. So that picture made Well, it's one of the things that made him stand out because the picture is just breathtaking, right? That was many years ago, mind you. Now this young girl is I think in her late 30s or maybe even early 40s. Robert Capa was a photographer of many different wars, but this gentleman was born like in the 18 towards like 1878 or something like that. Diane Arbus did urban street culture. Yusuf Karsh did master portraits photographer. He photographed Winston Churchill. And that's what I went ahead and I did for each of these people. Cindy Sherman is a film director besides being a photographer. Helmut Newton, fashion photography, Vogue, Playboy. Irvin Penn is another one that did fashion photographer for Vogue and Clinique. Now, Man Ray, this one is, I mean, it takes my words away because this gentleman is a visual artist in Dada and Surrealist movement. I have no idea what the Dada is or Dada, but he's a painter and he did fashion and portrait photography. In here, I put the number of aspects that Neptune is making to these planets, right? This gentleman has 8 out of 8 aspects. So he's very, very big and famous. Um, and so here you can see like the number of aspects that these people have, right? And the minimum number is 3. David Bailey, um, Irvin Penn are the ones that have 3. But all the rest of them are pretty high up there. And like again, you can see the totals here. Dear, hold on a second, because that is my new. All right, sorry about that. Let me go back to sharing my screen, and here we go. As I was saying, the number of aspects from Neptune to any of these planets is very, very important. And I was going through like what these photographers were famous for. Like Walker Evans did portraits and large format photography for the Resettlement Administration and the Farm Security Administration. This, like I said, was back like in the late 1800s, early 1900s. Um, Robert Frank documentary film. Okay, like I said, Matthew Jordan Smith, I couldn't find any information about him, not even Wikipedia. So Richard Avedon, portrait and fashion. Eve Arnold is photojournalism. David Bailey, fashion, portrait, documentaries, TV, commercials. Um, David LaChapelle did music videos and film director, fashion photo, fashion photography. Stephen Meisel, a fashion photography for Vogue. He also did celebrities like Madonna. Andreas Gerke, um, architecture and professor, and he is the photographer that sold the highest, like the most expensive picture, right? The highest priced. So let me give you info on him. He is a Capricorn sun at 24 degrees is his Capricorn sun, which is the degree of Pisces, which is ruled by Neptune. So there's very little coincidence here. And then uh, Peter Hugo, portrait and photographic artist. And then Anne Geddes is the baby portraits, those like newborns that are full of flowers. This is the photographer that does that. Now, in addition to doing the Neptune aspects to the different planets, I also took a look at what was the most common degree that these people had in any of these, right? And you can tell that the degrees I highlighted, right? Either I changed the font and then like the predominant degree, believe it or not, is Aries. And then is followed by Gemini to tell a story. And then Pisces is those are the top three degrees. Now, if you remember Aries, and of course I'm talking about the degree theory, Aries is 1, 13, and 25. Gemini is 3, 15, and 27, and then Pisces is 12 and 24. So those were the most common degrees here, see? And I highlighted Aries, I guess because Aries is just they're the pioneers, and a lot of these people started things in their own area of photography, and they became very world renowned for it, right? So, and like I said, for the sun, it's the earth element that is the most dominant. So, I hope that you have found this information helpful, that if you are contemplating studying something in the arts, that maybe, you can decide between music and photography, Neptunian things, right? And compare this information to your chart. For me, it was a very interesting, like I said, it took a long time to put this together, but it was very eye-opening in a lot of cases. Because I am a Capricorn sun, and at one point in time, I did take up photography as a hobby, but with the idea of doing like a side business, but it didn't work out because I didn't have the time. So anyway, I do have the aspects, mind you. I have like 6 or 7 out of the 8 aspects, so it would have been okay, but now it's, the different era in my life. Um, I hope that you have found this video helpful, enjoyable, eye-opening, that you have learned something from it, and maybe, like I said, it can help you in a way to, like, if you're a college student or something like that, then maybe you could take or take classes. That's what I did. I went to the community college and I took up some photography classes for the lighting and the background and stuff like that. And it was enjoyable, I must say. So with this, I conclude the video. If you have found this useful or you've learned anything, please give it a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel, and send it to somebody else who might like the information or the knowledge. As always, if you would like a natal chart reading with me, please send me an email to amaastrology. Thank you for watching, and I will see you in the next video.